the new National Education Policy, NEP 2020. Let me break it down for you. Hi, my name is Gayatri and I'm trying to analyze the new National Education Policy NEP 2020 in the simplest way possible. This is India's third NEP. The first one was in 1968, the second one was in 1986 and now 2020. So the draft of the new policy was prepared by a panel headed by Dr. Kasturi Rangan, and we are going to analyze the pros, the cons and the questions that we are left with. So let's have a look at the pros, that is the positives of NEP. One of the biggest changes that we are going to face in the new NEP is in school education system, which is the 10+2 system has been converted to 5+3+3+4 system. The foundational stage, the preparatory stage, the middle stage and the secondary stage, which is in par with the educational standards of many of the developed countries, and which is really a good idea because kids have more options to choose from at each one of these stages, like 5+3+3+4. We'll talk about that in a while, but before that, let's talk about the next point, the next positive side. The degree or the graduation program will be of 4 years with multiple entry-exit options and options to change your streams as well. So the students have the option to leave the course after each year. Like the student can complete 1 year, he will get a certificate. He can complete 2 years of the graduation and get a diploma. If she completes 3 years, she gets a degree certificate, and if she completes 4 years, she gets a bachelor research degree certificate. And the completion of this 4 years bachelor research degree course also enables students to get PhD without even doing MPhil. So MPhil is completely out of the picture. Now coming back to the multiple entry or exit options in the graduation system, this could be beneficial in 2 ways. First, if a student starts the graduation program, completes 1 year, starts to work or wants to work, or maybe because of the financial condition he wants to work, he can work. All the credits of his first year education will be in his credit bank and he can resume the education whenever he wants to. This also leaves behind the term college dropout because you can join back at any time. Your credits will be in the credit bank. And the other reason of discontinuing the course could be this change in stream. The person has studied arts degree for the first year, but then the person wants to change to science or any other stream. So then the person can change easily. Her complete credits of the 1 year education that she completed will be added to the new course, which is great because students will not have the tension of losing a year. The next best thing about the new NEP is that it focuses on application of knowledge rather than rote learning. I had suffered a lot because I have a bad memory. Many of the cases, my memory skills, my cramming power was used to examine my skills in the school. But now if this NEP comes into reality as it says in the document, kids will be assessed on many different things rather than just the memory power or the cramming skill. The 2020 NEP also emphasizes on critical thinking and analytic skills of the students. Plus, it is also replacing the old report card system which is only made by the teacher. And instead, along with the teachers, the students of the class and the student themselves can self-assess and contribute to the grading system or the report card system, which is very good because that again enhances their critical thinking and self-analyzing abilities. The next positive side is much awaited, that is the entry of top 100 colleges into India. This has different positive aspects, including the Indian colleges will have a competition mentality and they will improve their structures. Our students will receive international exposure and India can turn into a global study destination comparing the costs of education to other developed countries. And we can be a tough competition to China in this case. One of the most underrated plus point of this new NEP would be the mandatory counseling system, which means every school should have a counseling system for the students to help them handle their stress and emotional issues. And last but not the least, 6% of the GDP will be invested in the education system, which if implemented correctly will be the best one so far. Now let's move on to the cons, aka negative sides of the NEP. One of my biggest concern is English being sidelined. Well, in the whole document there is nothing as sidelining English, but there are many things that will lead to English being sidelined. and which is not really good for our students. The emphasizing on teaching in mother tongue or the regional language up to grade 5, which could extend up to grade 8. In practicality, what is going to happen is most government schools or most students or parents will be opting for the mother tongue. Yes, I know that is not mandatory, but since it's being offered so strongly, people will choose more of regional language instead of English as a medium of education, which will definitely affect their English language skills, which in turn will reflect in their growth and higher education, and even while getting a job, it will be affected. Now, I'm not trying to glorify English here because I know English is glorified a lot. It is considered as a status symbol and all, but I'm not talking about that. But those students who don't know English or whose parents can't teach them English at home, how will they be able to do and learn coding properly? So chances are that kids who come from families of non-English speaking parents or parents who are not so educated, those kids will not be able to choose coding, but then they'll have to choose the vocational studies. And growing up, they will only be left with the option of skilled labor. Now, skilled labor is not a bad thing if we have the systems like European systems and all, where the wage system is more or less the same. But in India, wage system or societal system itself is not really good for skilled laborers. English as a medium of communication is very beneficial for a job. And compared to China, more people in India can speak and understand English. That is one of the biggest reasons that more tech companies are investing in India and more Indians are getting tech jobs. So unless India can create good job opportunities for regional or native language speakers like in Japan or Germany or such countries, sidelining English is not a really good idea. And speaking of coding, one of the negatives would be the access to computers or smartphones or tablets. I mean, smartphones would not be a solution. Access to laptops or computers will be needed. Most of our students can't even afford a smartphone for these online classes these days. So how are they going to afford a computer for the coding? The government should be able to provide computers to needy children, or otherwise they will again be forced not to choose coding and maybe choose vocational or other options. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against vocational jobs or vocational education system, but I strongly support what the kid wants, not what the kid's situation wants. We're talking about the negatives now, but one of the positives that people usually say, and I did not say this in the positive side, is there is no more rigid separation between science or arts or commerce streams, which is actually a good idea. And in a way, non-science students can also apply in premium colleges like IIT. But the negative side is the IITs that have 0.7% of acceptance rate, how will they accommodate more children? It will only make situations tougher for the students, unless and until more IITs come into structure to accommodate all these kids. Another concern in this regard is about the foreign education or foreign universities being set up in India. With more emphasis given to regional languages as medium of education, how will our kids be able to manage their higher education in these foreign universities? Plus, the question remains that how many students from the economically backward families will be able to afford these foreign universities? Yes, these foreign universities in India will be an affordable educational option to global students, comparing the fee system of other developed countries. But what about Indian students who cannot even afford normal college fee? So my point is that while there is a very good option of Indian students to study in the foreign universities while being in India, will the government be able to support education for all those deserving students who wants to study in those foreign universities but cannot afford to do so? And in my opinion, the biggest negative side is this: integration of modern medicine into alternative medicines like Ayurveda, yoga, homeopathy, Siddha, naturopathy. The reason behind this idea is simply lame, because you cannot make a doctor jack of all trades. Modern medicine is scientifically backed, whereas the alternative medicine is not much. So integrating all these different streams without proper study or scientific research might mean disaster or might lead to experimentation on patients. Either way, I strongly disagree with this point. So we've dealt with the pros, we've dealt with the cons. Now we are left with a few questions. It is mentioned that a school district kind of a system will come. So if that's the case, will free transportation be provided to those districts? Because many of the kids opt for school next to their homes just to avoid the transportation charge or transportation issues. That remains a concern because many of the government schools don't even have proper toilet facilities for girls. the 6% given to education from GDP. The promise was also done in 1986 NEP, but it was never made practical. Only 3%, 3 to 4% has been done. So will 6% will actually be given to education this time? We'll have to find out. While it's not really mandatory, but why is Sanskrit being given strong offerings or higher priority when it's really not a spoken language, and neither will it help you getting a job? Well, in the end, in short, what we can conclude with, the new NEP is really a progressive one if implemented correctly, but it still cannot somehow break free of pressure of the traditional education system. Somehow it's still clinging to that. And not emphasizing much on English as a medium of education is going to be an issue in cases where students' parents have to move states of different languages throughout child's education. So more than a one nation, one curriculum concept, what we need more is a need-based education. But we all have high hopes on this new NEP, just waiting to see it implemented. But if implemented correctly, especially considering needy children and children's careers, this will be a really good step. Speaking of which, implementation of such a huge change in the education system is really a big challenge. So let's wait and see. Well, my name is Gayatri and this is my first video on this channel. If you liked what I said, you can consider subscribing to this channel. And don't forget to leave your comments on the new education system. So see you. Bye.